like a racer's glove. Driving in deeper, making time in the sleeper, driving through the barrens of love. Ever seen an angel in a fire suit, sexy from a helmet to a Nomex boots, tearing up the track, sideways in the mud, driving through the barrens of love. Ever seen an angel in a fire suit, sexy from a helmet to a Nomex boots, tearing up the track, sideways in the mud. She was up on the cushion, pushing the 11. I was cruising for the 33. Running wide open, schooling the boys, flinging mud across the county line. Finding a groove and making a move, she turned a lap in record time. Ever seen an angel in a fire suit, sexy from a helmet to a Nomex boots, tearing up the track, sideways in the mud, driving through the barrens of love. The boys like to rub the fenders, try to get her up against the wall. She don't play checkers or records, but she's ready if you want to brawl. Jenna gives the boys white knuckle, cause she likes to take them on 3 wide. And she don't mind grinding some metal, yeah, she gets hot when the sparks start to fly. Ever seen an angel in a fire suit, sexy from a helmet to a Nomex boots, tearing up the track, sideways in the mud, driving through the barrens of love. Take a little break between the heats, to spend a little time between the sheets. Back to the track and get on with the show, an 800 horsepower rodeo. Between the heats, to spend a little time between the sheets. Back to the track and get on with the show, an 800 horsepower rodeo.
Here comes car number 1. Oh my goodness, as she takes that car to the top shelf, she has made her way to the top 5. She is absolutely flying.
She's up on the wheel with the devil in her eyes and a little dirt on her face. Belted and tied, ready for a fight, wearing outlaw leather and lace. Ever seen an angel in a fire suit, sexy from a helmet to a Nomex boots, tearing up the track, sideways in the mud, driving through the barrens of love. The next time I saw Jenna, was at a track in Saluda, VA. I said, I'll run the crew if you want me to. She blew a kiss and said, okay. Now we're riding down the road together, and we fit just like a racer's glove. Driving in deeper, making time in the sleeper, driving through the barrens of love. Ever seen an angel in a fire suit, sexy from a helmet to a Nomex boots, tearing up the track, sideways in the mud, driving through the barrens of love. Ever seen an angel in a fire suit, sexy from a helmet to a Nomex boots, tearing up the track, sideways in the mud, driving through the barrens of love. She was up on the cushion, pushing the 11. I was cruising for the 33. Running wide open, schooling the boys, flinging mud across the county line. Finding a groove and making a fenders, trying to get her up against the wall. She don't play checkers or records, but she's ready if you want to brawl. Jenna gives the boys white knuckle, cause she likes to take them on 3 wide. And she don't mind grinding some metal. Yeah, she gets hot when the sparks start to fly. Ever seen an angel in a fighter suit? Sexy from a helmet to a Nomex boots. Tearing up the track, sideways in the mud, driving through the badlands of love. Take a little break between the heats to spend a little time between the sheets. Back to the track and get on with the show. An 800 horsepower rodeo. Between the heats, to spend a little time between the sheets. Back to the track and get on with the show. An 800 horsepower rodeo.
Here comes car number 11. Oh my goodness, as she takes that car to the top shelf, she has made her way to the top 5. She is absolutely flying.
She's up on the wheel with the devil in her eyes and a little dirt on her face. Belt in tight, ready for a flight, wearing outlaw leather and lace. Ever seen an angel in a fighter suit? Sexy from a helmet to a Nomex boots. Tearing up the track, sideways in the mud, driving through the badlands of love. The next time I saw Jenna, was at a track and saluted VA. I said, I'll run the crew if you want me to. She blew a kiss and said, okay. Now we're riding down the road together, and we fit just like a racer's club. Driving in deeper, making time in the sleeper, driving through the badlands of love. Ever seen an angel in a fighter suit? Sexy from a helmet to a Nomex boots. Tearing up the track, sideways in the mud, driving through the badlands of love. Ever seen an angel in a fire suit? Sexy from a helmet to a Nomex boots. Tearing up the track, sideways in the mud, driving through the badlands of love. Was at a dirt track in Tennessee. She was up on the cushion, pushing the 11. I was cruising for the 33. Running wide open, schooling the boys, flinging mud across the county line. Finding a groove and making a move, she turned a lap in record time. Ever seen an angel in a fire suit? Sexy from a helmet to a Nomex boots. Tearing up the track, sideways in the mud, driving through the badlands of love. The boys like to rub the fenders, trying to get her up against the wall. She don't play checkers or records, but she's ready if you want to brawl. Jenna gives the boys white knuckle, cause she likes to take them on 3 wide. And she don't mind grinding some metal. Yeah, she gets hot when the sparks start to fly. Ever seen an angel in a fighter suit? Sexy from a helmet to a Nomex boots. Tearing up the track, sideways in the mud, driving through the badlands of love. Take a little break between the heats to spend a little time between the sheets. Back to the track and get on with the show. An 800 horsepower rodeo.
An 800 horsepower rodeo. Yeehaw. I guess I should, maybe someday I should explain what that stuff is. That was a fun song to write. And yeah, there you go. There's that. And guess what? Previously aired January 20th, 2021.
Happy Thursday, children of the lawn.
Happy Thursday, children of the lawn. Happy Thursday. Whoops. You can't see hers. You can only see mine.
Oh, somebody got his hair cut. And doesn't it look so much better?
I tell you what, I feel like somebody decompressed my neck. Good old Valentino.
Yes, he's great.
He is great. You know what? I'm going to show you how great he is. Because I can.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It's actually a Z.
Well, Michael Newton says nice haircut.
Thank you. Thank you. That's wait till you see this crazy bastard. Where is here we go.
He's our kind of people.
Yeah, this is who should be cutting my hair, right? Oh no, that's a girl doing it. That's not her. What's going on here? Hey.
I don't know, Stevie.
Here we go. Valentino
Welcome
cuts
back
with
to
claws.
Fox News
All right.
at 9 a.m.
Now
We're
I
about
gotta
to
figure
get
out
an
how to do
interesting
this. Oh, here we go.
demonstration
Look.
We've got Valentino Lasario joining us this
You wanna do
morning.
that?
Come on in.
Go
Come on in.
Okay.
Join
Good
us.
morning.
How
Good
you
morning.
doing?
Good morning, St. Louis.
Now,
How
you
doing?
There he
invented
is.
something called the claw.
The claw.
That's
Tell me what this
Valentino.
is. You're the real life Edward Scissorhands right here. Look at this. Now, this is a way to cut hair with this?
Yes.
These are the
Now,
claws.
what made you come up with this technique? How did it come to
Oh
you?
man,
into that.
I tell you.
I think he's going to cut this girl's hair with his
Freddie
eyes.
Krueger or
I just
something coming
these
at
are the
us.
claws.
So
See
you can
this?
show us how this works?
After he cuts your hair, then he does that with the claws.
Yeah, cuts your hair
You're able to
and then does the claws.
turn immediately.
Got the
different
claws
directions,
in
up
there
and down,
and-
sideways,
Kitty
or
says
something.
nice haircut. Chris says looks great.
Thank you. He's amazing. I got to tell you what, he's
Oh, look at that.
and he cut it with those
Freddie
things.
Krueger or something coming at
I
you.
mean, he cuts it.
So you can
know,
show us how this
he does the
works?
shape, but then he does the claws thing. Here, watch this craziness.
Can you have a small
Wonder if
chair
I
or
can make
something?
this
Sure.
any
Now let me
bigger.
get a smaller chair here. I can do that. Here we go.
Well,
And
Here we go. Sit down.
come
There
on,
you go.
Valentino, hurry up,
Yes,
bud. I
ma'am.
gotta.
And what I want to do for the first time on TV.
Yeah.
So should I
Here we
blindfold
go.
you?
You got a blindfold.
Blindfold.
On
Here he is.
Right. Okay.
Real life
here we
Edward
go.
Scissorhands is going to do this blindfolded.
Yes.
He
then I'll
was
try
not blindfolded
Just
when he
kidding.
did mine.
How's the
kidding.
music? Any music in there?
There you go.
And this is it too. This is the craziest. This is.
Buy it.
Ooh.
He has all these little techniques where he twists your hair and cut.
Yep.
But
You
anyway,
know,
that's
you're
so
doing it
that's
all by
fine.
feel right now.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
And you can tell just from the texture of her
Blindfold.
hair what
He
you
got
have.
sued for that.
Exactly. My hand tells me the texture that I need to
He's great.
work out.
He really. He's.
Well,
Really
Sue says
just
it
like
makes
the head of
sense.
my
Got to
mind.
do the shape, then texture.
Wow.
and
With the claws, yeah, like a razor cut
Look
kind
at
of. But
that.
yeah, of course, yeah. I mean,
Now, you can be
And,
doing a
well-
seminar on this, telling people here in
Neil
St.
says
Louis
nothing
hairstylists
beats
how
a
they
Floby.
should
For
utilize
John
this
Entwistle,
technique,
maybe.
right?
yeah, or
Without the-
George Clooney.
Blinds, you know.
Without
I'm
the
going-
blindfold, yeah,
It is,
exactly.
you know.
No,
You've got
Okay, you
styles
get
like the
great hair.
Yeah.
techniques like the
Got
bumblebee.
nice
She almost wants to show
This is
you.
the flight of the
This is
bumblebee.
Flight of the Bumblebee right here.
Yeah, very nice shot.
That is
How
looking-
much?
hey.
It was $78 for
Awesome.
the both
Is
of
that
us.
crazy?
He's doing his
A lot of
thing.
money.
Look at that. He's going to
Yeah.
let him know right
And
in St.
the
Louis
thing about it
how they
is,
can do this
we
technique
had some
unblindfolded, of course.
posh friends
Coming up with
down
information
there.
on the screen. Check it out.
They used to get
Oh,
their
man,
hair
that's
cut
the Flight of
from
the Bumblebee.
Valentino. Used to charge them like $150 or some shit.
Like,
And-
to come back.
Yeah, it could have been,
now
right? But
John
they
Percival's
kept
gonna
coming
get it cut
back.
up on the news
And they were so
headlines.
proud. Oh, yes, Valentino just did my hair today. Well, he did mine too for
Sue says she hears
$35.
voices.
What?
Sue hears voice. Gail hears voices.
For $35.
Hears
voices?
voices?
What? I don't hear any voices. Oh, wait a minute. Voices is coming from this?
Yeah, it must be.
No. I don't hear voices. Oh, wait, let me turn this up.
Oh,
Nope,
you know what
no
it's
voices.
time for?
What is it?
It's time for our Liberty DeVito.
Oh, yeah, this is, man, I tell you what, Liberty, he's a phenomenon unto himself. And I say that because no matter who you think is responsible for Billy Joel's hits, and of course, if Billy Joel didn't write them and everything else, but that band, I mean, he was smart enough to keep the same guys in the same band for a very long time, and they made those records together.
Chemistry.
Yeah, and so when you listen to those tracks, Liberty is the drums are mixed up pretty good, and I think it's because that powerhouse thing is what takes the edge off of Billy Joel songs being too poppy. Do you know what I mean? They really rock. Whereas if they had somebody back there just, phoning it in, they might not have the impact that they had. Anyway, for me, it's always about the drummer. And ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah, this is
you
cool.
guys ready for Liberty DeVito
I hope I'm ready.
throwback?
Where am I ready? Oh, here it is. Right here. Be here any second. I thought we'd do it in studio today. Did that look like Mike Del Judas?
Yeah.
I think that's who it was.
It looked like him. We'll have to ask.
We'll have to ask. But great band, right? I mean, it sounds.
Saw that
Oh,
band with
guess
Billy
who's
Joel.
knocking at my door? Come in.
Hello, Steve.
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm good. And yourself?
I'm real good, thanks. I am loving the hat.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
New York all the way, man. Now, I'm jumping right in. First of all, I've been looking forward to talking to you. We have never really had the chance to do the good drum hang.
Yeah.
And it's been a while, man. It's been a minute. How are you? Let me start. I'll be courteous.
Well, as far as you want to know how I am, if there wasn't a pandemic or if it was, that there is one.
Well, we can go through both, but in this current moment, how are you as we...
In this current moment, I'm actually, but today was a very special day, because of what went on, yes. And I'm happy for that. The pandemic... As far as drumming goes, I can't wait to get out and beat the drums to death. I mean, it's been too long. Back in March.
Played it all? Have you not played it all?
Well, I did some session work. You wear the mask and you play, or sometimes you're in a drum booth. I just did a thing with Steve Gaspar. Steve.
He said to say hello.
Yeah, and I was in a booth at the Carriage House. They got this special room for drums.
I know the Carriage House. I've been there many times.
So it was really...
Carriage House?
Huh?
Is it Connecticut? The Carriage?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Been there many times.
And it was great to be in the booth. I could take the mask off and play. Everybody else is in the other room or whatever. When you go in and listen, you put the mask back on. In the beginning of the pandemic, I did a couple of live shows. But there were those parking lot shows before it got really cold.
Yeah.
They were weird because people beep their horns instead of clapping. Oh,
you remember when it went from lighters to cell phones? I guess
Yeah.
Our horns and flashing our headlights.
But I'm due for the vaccine, but it's just in New York. Everything's really slow.
Yeah. So so that's good. I mean, that's all good stuff.
Yeah.
Listen, I think, I don't go off topic on here, which is joy and wonderfulness, but I can't help but hope that we're moving everything in a good direction, in a more positive direction, building on everything that we've done and looking forward to a bright, happy, healthy future for everybody.
Yeah, me too.
So, yeah.
That's great.
So, yeah. So my first question, and I started this whole thing out. I actually have a first question. The Lords of 52nd Street, was that
Yes.
Mike Del Judas on the clip that I played?
No, that was Dave Clark. Dave Clark, who was in a tribute band called Songs in the Attic.
Wow.
Yeah, Dave.
Wow. Yeah, I only caught a glimpse of him from the side, and I, wearing the black thing and the
He looks like Billy.
Yeah, well, yeah, and Mike and whoever else.
Yeah,
it's good. It's and what a great band. So that's my serious question. But the reason that I did this whole thing, be no good if I went in there and played to Led Zeppelin songs or anything. I figured, what I would do? I would take this time to either reconnect with guys that I haven't seen in 20 years,
right,
or 30 years, or am I being kind? 36 years. And then absolutely connect with guys that, I haven't had the time to spend enough time with. And that was the whole basis for this whole thing. So, I mean, hey man, we're at NAMM, or hey man, we're at the Garden, or we're staying at the same hotel in Memphis. It's that conversation. It's
Yeah.
that. So, yeah. It's good to see you, man. It's good to see you.
During the pandemic, it's really good to be seen. I mean, in here, I live in Brooklyn here, and I can't go outside, and take a mask off and walk around because there's people everywhere. I got a lot of friends that live like out on Long Island or upstate, and they have a house that has property, and they go outside without the mask, and it's great. We go out. As soon as I leave my apartment, I got to get on an elevator to go downstairs. I got the mask on,
Look, this man, I mean, it gets more real for me seeing it or more hearing about it because I'm not traveling. I wouldn't have been traveling this year anyway. Because I had a bunch of other stuff, just the stuff.
Right.
But I don't really feel it like everybody does because I am able to go outside and sit, and I don't have to wear a mask. I never even thought, because I grew up in an apartment. So, But I've been in houses, you know how that is. But all of a sudden, I just got such a clear vision of the elevator and the stairs and the hallway and the mailboxes. Wow.
Yeah, it's insane. Sometimes I forget to wear the mask, and I got to go back upstairs, and you hope nobody comes on the elevator. And yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But the Lords had to cancel a lot of gigs. A lot of them were blown off, and our manager kept writing and going, "Okay, we got to postpone now. September, October, December," and now he's like, "Now we got to postpone February, March. Maybe we might start playing again in April. Who knows?"
What do you? Oh, wow. And so who's in that band now? That band is currently playing. I thought it was the Slim Kings. No.
No, the Slim Kings play too, but we've been doing things like virtual things from studio. We played Daryl's house,
right,
and did a podcast from there. It's just cool, the Slim Kings are more of a recording band. It's really funny. A lot of bands are starting to play again, and only like maybe 12 people are showing up. It's kind of a Slim Kings audience.
Isn't that the way it all started out? I mean, we call it nostalgia. It's a nostalgia movement.
That's exactly what it's like. It is like starting out again. And what's great about playing when we were playing back in the summertime with the Lords, you have no response with the crowd because they're in their cars listening to it on the radio, right? So the thing that you have to do is remember what it was like when you first started and nobody wanted to hear your band. Nobody. Who would you play to? I would play the bass player. I'd play to the singer or the guitar player, and you have to do that again just to get off.
That's so weird. It's not weird, but I mean, I get it. It's just so foreign. Because I remember those days, and for me, I probably just closed my eyes, and I was playing for Madison Square Garden back then when there were 8 people.
Yeah,
but, it's a weird turn, man.
I tend to think of it as we're playing music live with a rubber on. It's, yeah.
Yeah, 2 rubbers and a radio. It's crazy. And a mask. But I can't help but think, our business took a pretty heavy shot as players, and but even with the whole digital thing that happened, I mean that railroaded a whole lot of stuff, and for me it started all the way back when they changed the drinking age from 19 to 21, and it seems like there's always been another challenge and another thing to overcome, but we always do it.
Always do it. I remember when the synthesizer came out and the string sections, they were losing money. When the drum machine, I remember having a meeting with the guys that own the Long Island Drum Center.
Dennis and Jerry Ricky.
Yes, Dennis and Jerry. And they were saying like, look, we got to do something. They're going to start to put these in the board in the studio. There's going to be a drum machine in there. It's like, what's going to happen? Thank goodness it didn't have a feel like a real drummer, But you hear that in hip hop now, a lot of the guys are playing like drum machines.
Yeah. It's amazing how it all comes around. But I have a great drum machine story for you, and that is, I heard that Roger Lynn was the guy who actually invented the thing, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, so I guess I'm going to paraphrase, goes to Radio Shack and he hooks up a blue button and a red button in one of those boxes that you can buy with an input and an output, and he makes himself the little machine. Right. And he brings it, I forget where it was, Record Plant, and Stevie Wonder's in there. And they said, hey, Stevie, you got to check this out. And they put it in Stevie's hand. Now, it's a great story, whether it's true or not. I wasn't there, but I was told by somebody who was. They put it in Stevie's hand, and he said, what's this? And they said, it's two buttons. He presses the left button, and he hears the kick drum. Presses the blue button, and he hears the snare drum. And he goes, uh-oh. So, you know, I mean, it's drum machines. They tried to threaten me, but they never did.
No, you know, we used to. I remember the first time we recorded with Phil Ramone at A&R Studios. Phil would use the click. You know, the click was in the board, the Nino board, and Phil would use the click only because when we found the right tempo to do a song, he would start the click there, set the click. We would speed up during the song, and he would pull the click out of our headphones. If that wasn't the take, now us drummers, we have a habit of the next take, we would start at the tempo we ended the last take at.
Because that's where your heart is. That's where your blood is.
But Phil would hit the click again, so we would go back to the original tempo. That's the really good feel. But as the song went on again, he would just pull it out if we started to go too fast, but it was a great take. You know, he didn't care if we went off, you know. He loved it.
Yeah, well, the only reason these days to use or to cut to a click and stick to it is for all the cutting and pasting that everybody does, where it all, you know. And believe me, I found that very useful in constructing things. It's never going to replace. It's like a drum machine. It's never going to replace you and me. First of all, how many girls have you ever seen walking out of a club with a drum machine under their arm?
That's great.
So there's that.
That's great.
And what, you know, I rest my case.
Yeah, but you know, it was, we were in there, and when we first, Phil said, "I'm going to start a click," and I got really scared, you know. And Steve Kahn, the guitarist that was on the sessions with us for the Stranger album, he said to me, he goes, "The click is your friend. Don't worry about it."
Well, I get that because I tend to ebb and flow as you know, especially when you're playing progressive music or whatever. And I mean, the music, Billy Joel's music, is so dramatic, and it's so it's like movements to it. So how can you lock in a tempo? You know, it just wouldn't work. Yeah. But I understand the starting point.
Right. I mean, I'm reading these George Martin books now, you know, about the Beatles early and later on. When they were doing Sgt. Pepper, you know, I was shocked. My wife always says, what could you possibly learn by reading another Beatle book that you don't already know about the Beatles? Well, I didn't know that for Day in the Life, Ringo overdubbed the drums. He didn't play to the track. I mean, he didn't play along with the basic track.
The basics. He
overdubbed the basic. And George Martin states in the book, he goes, that showed how good Ringo is because he kept with the ups and downs of how John played. You know, he just went along with it. And the evidence is in the mix, man. You know.
Well, the fact, I think, you know, I think what the Beatles, what they did, and you and I use this reference with my guests all the time. There are people that remember life before the Beatles, which is like black and white TV.
Right.
And, you know, then we have, you know, IMAX.
Yeah.
But they were absolutely permission to, I came up like, I'm maybe a year or two younger than you are. So I came up with when music was blossoming all over the place, but all the doo-wop stuff and all the 50s stuff had gotten as big as it could get. You couldn't repackage it anymore. It was all, and when the Beatles happened, it was like, oh man, put on these glasses and check this out. So, and it didn't even matter, how good or bad anybody was. It wasn't even down to that. It was listen to what these guys are doing.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. You know that I just found out that 57 years ago today, Meet the Beatles came out in the United States.
Wow, 57 years ago today. Let me process that for a second.
Yeah.
Do my math.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then go listen to All My Lovin' and tell me that was 57 years ago. What, are you kidding me?
Wow. But man, and I can picture it in my mind, and it's funny, I have an unopened copy of that around in my somewhere, just the old vinyl. But yeah, it was just, everything, even the way that they did stereo, when that started to happen, it was like magical, just really cool. And the fact that they opened up all kinds of music, especially Day in the Life. Think of how's the drum part in that go? Got up, got at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny. People ask me about Ringo, and I always say, there's a saying like, Ringo paved the road for us to do what we do. And I say, no, he didn't pave the road for us. What he did was got into a tractor. He knocked all the trees down. Then he dug the dirt. Then he laid the cement. Then he put the pavement on. Then he made the road for us to travel. That's what he did.
Well, and I love seeing Ringo. I've seen him, of course, I played with John Entwistle, and John was in Ringo's, the band, the All-Star Band, so I got to see them quite a few times. It's amazing what he's done. And it's a segue to us, because out of all of the Beatles, you would have never maybe guessed that he would have had such a prolific and I'm treading on ground here, but you would have thought that, I don't know. I never expected Ringo to keep going on his own, and he's not only done that, he's gone above and beyond.
Above and beyond, yeah. You can only imagine where George would be today if he were alive, and forget about John. Jeez, what would he be doing?
Yeah, well, I have it's an interesting thing, because we're talking about something. I don't know. It's not that it's good that they can't get back together or any of that.
Oh no, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah.
I think that magic. I think you would not tarnish it, but it would make it more human somehow, instead of the intergalactic, holy shit, how'd they do that? Do you know what I mean? If they went back in with the technology of today and tried to make a record, how do you experiment with the most experimental medium there is now? All these samples and everything.
Right. Yeah, I get that way with a lot of bands that get back together again to play. Sometimes you go see them and you're really disappointed in what they sound like and their attitude. One band that I loved, as a matter of fact, Dino Benelli from the Rascals. He for me, he blew Ringo off the stool. He was the guy.
Let me just stop you there. I'm going to move out of the way. Do you see those symbols flat? Do you see it, right?
Yes, I do.
I don't need to say anything else, right?
Yeah, Dino.
Okay.
I have the same thing, too. Dino. I interviewed him for Modern Drummer video. Wow. And I asked him about those. He had white felt...
the things are underneath his wing nuts.
Yeah. I said, well, how did you get them?
Were they like pom-poms off of mallets?
No. Well, what he did was he took the bass drum beater and cut it in half and used them. Yeah. So that was one band when they got together again, and Steve Van Zandt put that whole thing together with the Rascals.
Yeah.
People said, "Are you going to go see the Rascals?" I said, "No, I don't want to," because I had seen them multiple times in the '60s, and they were the band for me. They were it. And I had played with Felix Cavalieri a bunch of times and stuff like that. I said, "No, I don't want to see the Rascals." Well, finally somebody said, "I got tickets. You can have this one here. Take it. Let's go." So I went, and let me tell you something. I was blown away. They did every song, and they did it perfectly. When Eddie sang "How Could I Be Sure," I was tearing up. It was amazing.
It was so awesome. I mean, I saw them at the Westchester County Center in White Plains. I must have been 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And I had never, I mean, it just, for me, to have an album with songs on it that were mine, not my brother, who was 8 years older than me, not my mother, who was listening to Glenn Miller, which I'm glad I listened to that.
Yeah.
But this was like my stuff. And you're right, the soul of How Can I Be Sure, You Better Run. I'll tell you a funny story. I got a funny story. I think, and I can't remember the band, but there was one of the Long Island bands that does all the cover stuff. It was either Wondrous Stories or one of those bands that's out there. And Gene Cornish is sitting in with them, right? and they do You Better Run. And some guy comes up to him at the bar and says, "Man, that was really good. Do you do any other Pat Benatar songs?"
It's great. That's really funny.
He told me the story. I was laughing my ass off. He's a funny guy.
That's really funny.
Yeah,
that's
it's
really funny.
You're a book reader. He's got a book out.
So do I.
Do you do? Let's talk about that.
There it is, right there.
Excellent.
Yeah. It's called Liberty on top, and the title is Life, Billy, and the Pursuit of Happiness.
Wow.
And believe it or not, Billy Joel wrote the foreword on it.
Well, now, I tread lightly around the Billy stuff because I really don't know much about, that thing. I always, I'm a drummer. I beat things with a stick. I don't know. Where's the food?
Where's the catering?
Exactly. But, look, Kanata's an old friend of mine.
Yeah.
I know people in that whole camp. I don't know Billy, but hell, that must have been a pretty amazing thing to be a part of.
Oh, it was an amazing gig. Well, you know as well as I know that when you're in the center of the storm, you're in the eye. You don't even know what's going on around you.
Exactly.
So we would just, in the beginning, I had a band called Topper. It was myself, Russell Javers, Doug Stegmeyer, and Howard Emerson, right? And that band eventually became the Billy Joel Band with the inclusion of Richie Kanata. And so we were friends before we were musicians together. So it was we were just a bunch of friends that were making music. We didn't put an album out. Everybody says, "Did you know The Stranger was going to be a smash hit?" No, you don't know that. No,
it's the same thing. I can relate. I certainly wasn't in a Billy Joel experience, but my band Rat Race Choir was had its own moment where it happened and then it changed and whatever. And
you guys were a name on Long Island that I always heard and knew about the band. Everybody knew.
Yeah, it was a weird, and see, that's not for me. I'm just driving to work. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know that because I don't even go in through the front door. It's not that I'm not aware of it. I mean, because obviously if you're playing at Speaks and there's 2,000 people there,
right,
you're aware of it. But it's not, I can relate. Let me just say that. The experience is very much a parallel universe of coming and being a part of this thing and then looking back and saying, wow,
Yeah, but it was bands like your band, Rat Race Choir, the Good Rats, Twisted Sister, all that kind of thing. Those were with other people like myself are listening to and going like, okay, that was a great idea. We're gonna use that idea, these guys are coming up with some really cool shit, and we're going to use that.
Yeah.
That's what you do in music. You know, great musicians borrow, but other great musicians steal. And that's
Clapton said musicians are magpies. That's what we do. How it's called educating yourself. And I want to go back to the drum thing because I have to give you some serious props. I went back and I looked at a bunch of things just to familiarize myself with what's going on. And of course, I know the tracks, right? I mean, I know the songs because they're the songs.
You can't get away from them.
No, you can't. But there's an undeniable groove in there that is absolutely. Who was the bass player?
Doug Stegmeyer.
It was Doug. Okay. There's just a lock that's there that I don't know if anybody else feels it, but another drummer or another bass player. But when I watched you play with Slim Kings and with the Lords, I saw a part of your style that I've never seen before. You have you hit hard, but you're graceful. You have a gorgeous touch, and to come all the way over to your cross sticking. Yeah. There's a lot of technique there, and I wonder, how many people really get how much of the equation that skill set is.
Well, when I was growing up, I mean, Ringo was my first love, then Dino Benelli, and of course, then I saw Carmine Apiece, and each one of these guys, Ringo made me want to play the drums. That's what Ringo made me want to play drums and be in a band, not just play rudiments and stuff like that, just be in a band. Dino showed me that the drummer can be as much a focus as the lead singer is. Then Carmine showed me how to be focused and power at the same time. And then there was in Traffic, there was Jim Capaldi, who played really like an R&B kind of player that had a rock touch to him. And all through those times when I was listening to all that music, I was also listening to R&B music. Roger Hawkins, Bernard Purdie, all those people that had that graceful touch.
That's your right hand. Your right hand gives that away every time. I can see somebody who has that touch, that Purdy, graceful float right hand. But then what's all you is the power. You know what I mean? And that's why we borrow. We borrow. And did you always play match grip? Yes, always.
And it's funny. I met Zigaboo, from the Meters at the NAMM show, and I ran into him, and I went up to him and said, "Oh, I'm a big fan of yours," and he was funny because it's funny when somebody knows who you are that you've idolized all these years. Yeah. And he goes, "Let me tell you something. You have brought playing to another level." So it's kind of got that R&B thing to it, but yet it's got that rock power.
And on the where you can see that, or where I saw it, because I have the Slim Kings clip as well. Right. And I will take a 2-minute break and I'll play that. But that's where I can, because it really gets behind you, and is that a trio? It's a trio? Yeah. True. With the guitar player singing with a mask on. I thought that was appropriate.
I'll have the mask on. That was kind of in the beginning of the pandemic. We were paranoid of everything.
What studio was that? It looks
Michael, the singer, has a studio in his building that he lives in. He put that together, yeah.
Awesome. All right, well, listen, we'll take a quick one. I'm going to play. What is this track? Set it up for me.
Slim Kings, which one is this? This is called...
Simple Things.
Simple Things, yeah, Simple Things.
See? You made an impression already, bro. I mean, it's great stuff. Anyway, okay, here we go. Simple Things. And play now. Yes. Yeah. Boys and girls, that is how that's done. Hang on a second, I gotta get my...
Yeah, I hear you.
It's so weird with this whole broadcasting thing. It's nuts. But man, I really appreciate what you do. And it's nice to be able to actually tell you that.
Let me tell you. I am playing with the Slim Kings is great. I love it. They keep me current. You know, they're much younger than I am, as you can't tell with the masks on, but they're in their 30s. You know,
Oh, wow. They sound much older.
yeah. Well, that song we recorded it. We have an album. It's called. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, that song is on it, and it has horns on it and background vocals and everything. You know, real R&B. We recorded at this place called the Diamond Mine in Queens, and it has all vintage equipment. The drums that I played on, the mics, everything is vintage equipment. So we really got that sound. And you know, I'm fortunate to have been in the business in the 70s and 80s and 90s before corporate really took over. You know, I mean, one of the reasons Billy doesn't record anymore and stopped recording was because of corporate. It's like he's dissatisfied and discouraged and by the business. The business is just terrible. Music will always happen, but the business is killing it. Slim King trying to get a radio, forget it. You know?
And it's, you know, and it's a very weird thing. I think about, you know, I've seen the hired gun thing, obviously. Right. Respect, you know, I did a documentary myself, and I know the aches and labors of that. But you know, at the end of the day, the music, whether I'm still friends with my guys or not or whatever, we did that, and that's almost, and I'm saying this to another paisan, that's almost as good as blood. Yeah. Well, that's like my book. You saw the hired gun thing. Now the book, me and Billy reconciled, and we're friends again. You know. I'm glad that you offered that, because I wasn't going to go there, man. This is supposed to be fun and lighthearted, but I'm really happy for you to tell me that. Yeah. Well, you know, we may never play together again. Who knows? But it came to a point where it was like when the Lords got back together again, and I was relearning the songs again, because, you know, we do all the Billy songs, me, Richie, and Russell, because we were the guys that made those records. And it was like I was loving the tunes again, and I was loving playing with them. The only thing that was missing now in my life was that guy that I used to look at all the time on stage for 30 years. I looked at him in the studio. I looked at him. You know, and I decided that, you know, the piano drum feud had to be over. And I was really surprised at how many fans there was that, you know, just went crazy when they found out that we were back together again. I mean, the sales of the book showed like, wow, there's a lot of fans out there, you know, and they were shocked that when they didn't know that me and Billy had gotten together again until they saw the forward. You know? Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, and let me tell you what, the truth of it is, it doesn't matter. I believe this. In this life, and I'm not going to go off on the philosophy trail, but I think we're all supposed to get what we're supposed to get. And you don't get more than you're supposed to get, and you don't get less. You know what I mean? Yeah. You get a little too much too early, whatever it is, I really believe it balances out. So for anybody that did better or not as good, it doesn't matter. We've as drummers, I believe we always run our race, because we are part of the instrument, and we can only do what we do honestly the way we do it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, how much long? I got more road behind me than I do in front of me. You know. I don't believe that. I don't believe it. Well, you know, it's crazy. We're getting older, and to not have that friend after all that beautiful music that we made together. Yeah, but man, let me tell you what. I mean, you can certainly. I hear you. I mean, I lost my guy too. It was 15 years that John and I. And that was not just a bass player and a drummer. We were business partners. We were absolutely the best of friends. Right. He passed. His family and the other guys in the Who's asked me to read the eulogy at his memorial. So I know what it's like not to have that guy there. Right. I feel you, bro. Yeah, and you lost him. And I had this thing where we were feuding all the time.
but we still had the love for each other, but we just weren't talking to each other. And it was like, before I go, I wrote this email to him and I said, before I die, I'd like to, get together again,
Yeah.
So, he responded really quick and he said he was disappointed at the way it ended too. And in the book, I got this picture here. There's me and Billy.
Oh, well, of course. I mean, how you can't not, and that's obviously present day.
Yeah.
It was in the Hamptons or something, maybe?
No, I met him. The Lords were playing in Florida last February. And I said, let's meet. We'll meet for dinner. I'm flying in on this day and I'll be there. And he said, we're going to have to meet for breakfast the next day. I got 2 small kids and I'm going to, I put them to bed around dinner time.
Yeah.
So we met for breakfast in a diner, and it was so good. We just talked about kids. I have one that's 4 years old. He has 2. One is like 6 years old and one is 2 years old. And, we talk about people that have passed and people who are sick and stuff like that. But, the old bad stuff never came up. It's like we were just happy to see each other.
It never should. Let me tell you what, that's the mistake that most guys make. And I refuse to make that mistake. Most guys think they have to go back there and untangle that ball of yarn.
No.
You're going to go back there and do that? I've got a scissors. I say cut the bitch loose, and that's it. Because if you can't do it that way, it's not going to happen any other way.
That's right.
And all of the best things and all the worst things have proven that theory right. But
absolutely.
And I'll tell you something else. Billy is a very clever guy. And he's obviously got a team around him, and his life has evolved into whatever it is. But there's gonna, and this is not prophecy, but there's gonna come a time. I don't know why, but I just know who we are. We are breed. It's gonna come a time where he's gonna want to feel that thing again. Not any disrespect to his guy, because his band now is smoking. But and that all those guys are players deluxe. But there's going to be a time where he's going to want to feel that click track.
Yeah.
Mark my words.
Yeah. Well, if he calls, we'll see what happens. Who knows?
Hey, man,
I'm not banking on it. That's the thing. That's the thing that when we met, it was like, he's ready to wind it down. And I didn't go there to get my gig back. We just wanted our friendship back together again,
Which is far more important than a gig. And but you see, I think, and since we're on the subject, I think it's important to the legacy of the music.
Yes.
To heal whatever you can. Nobody, and we talk about it on this show all the time, nobody understands the road. Nobody understands the sacrifice. Everybody thinks that everybody's rich and that everybody lives these lives in fantasy land. And while some of us have or do or will, others of us don't. And it's not because of better or worse. It's because that's the way this whole dream goes. The fact is, I was looking at some of the records that you've done.
Yeah.
That's monstrous. And you're one of those rare guys. This is, and this is the outside looking in. You're one of the rare guys that has this, like in Rat Race, I was a live player. We played 6 nights a week, 50 weeks a year, whatever it was, forever. That was it. Thursdays forever. That's what it was, right? But you, and you did both. You had the touring band and the studio thing, which we had that thing. But then you had this whole other life, which I guess happened after, or did it happen concurrent with Billy? All the records that you did, were they before? I mean, not before. Were they during?
Well, I was recording with the first time I went to the first live thing I ever did, like when I was 18 years old, fresh out of high school, was I played with Mitch Ryder.
Wow.
That's where I really learned like how to play live rock and roll. You know, Mitch did every song faster than the record. You know, it was a baptism by fire. I got a phone call. I befriended Rusty Day because he was in the Detroit Wheels for a while, and then he got with Cactus. And when he was with Cactus, he used to come to my house, and I would play with the Wheels too. And when he was with Cactus, he'd come to my house. My mother would make him dinner and whatever, you know. And he said to me when he was with Cactus, he says, "I'm going to get you a gig. Always practice. Don't embarrass me when you go for it," you know. So anyway, I get a phone call from the Mitch Ryder's tour manager. And I'm 18 years old. I graduated high school in June. It's November now. And he said, I said, where did you get my number? He said, Rusty Day. He says, you're pretty good. They said, our drummer is sick. And the drummer turned out to be Johnny Siomis, who was
Frampton.
Yeah, Frampton Comes Alive. And I said, when do you need me? He said, tonight. My drummer's really sick. I said, can I come in tomorrow night? My dad has to drive me. I don't have a driving license. Next day, I went in, met Mitch, and didn't meet him, met the band while getting on the bus to go to the gig. And the first time I see Mitch is when he walks out on the stage. You know, so it was like, and I went for 6 weeks up and down until Johnny got better, you know.
That's unbelievable. That's a great story.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's funny because the minute I hear you say things like that, I played with Leslie West for very many years.
Oh,
and
so great.
My favorites, oh, God, just Tone, king of tone. But he calls me up one morning and says, "Hey, Steve, you want to play on my album?" I said, "Sure, when?" He said, "In an hour." And we went up to whatever Paulie Orofino's place up in Millbrook, and yeah, I mean, just man, you know. But how lucky are we? I mean,
yeah,
I'm not done. You're not done.
No. So,
you know, you said you have young kids. You have.
I have 4 daughters. 3 of them are in their. One's 40 and the other in the 30s. I'm about to become a grandfather, one of them. Wow. But now I have another one that is going to be 4 years old next month.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I'm still practicing.
What?
I said, we're still practicing. We don't have any kids, and it was, you know, it's just the way it turned out for us. It wasn't my career. It's a whole big crazy story, but you know, that's its own skill set, children and family and all that. Oh, man,
let me tell you something with this little one. You know, when I was making the records with Billy, we would make an album, go on the road, come home, make an album, go on the road, come home, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so I missed it a lot with my other girls, but this one I'm seeing everything. And I really see how much I missed with the other ones, you know. But, you know, they're all doing well. One's a registered nurse. Like I said, the other one of them is, she was on the road with Fleetwood Mac. You know, she worked with them doing dressing rooms and stuff like that and cutting hair.
Oh, yeah.
And then my other one is an actress. She's on a show called Chicago Med. You know, it's on NBC.
Oh, hello. That's NBC. That's pretty good. Really?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Excellent.
And the little one is a gigantic Beatles fan. She loves the Beatles. She goes to bed with a Paul McCartney every night.
Unbelievable, man. I listen, I remember having that little transistor radio.
Oh, yeah.
And putting it underneath my pillow and waiting for Scotzo or, you know, Scott Muni or one of those guys to play, Dennis Elsis, somebody to play some Beatles. And, man, you know, actually it was probably Alison Steele, the Nightbird back then, but crazy. I mean, great times, great.
You know, I'm writing my book. You know, I write about all the good things that are happening to me now, and then I write, you know, it's the dark side. My parents passed away, you know, and there's people that we lost and stuff like that. And then I get to the point when life gets me down. I try to walk on the sunny side of the street, And the thing I think of to make me happy again is Paul McCartney's count off. So I saw her standing there.
1, 2, 3, ah!
That's what started it all for me. That was the first Beatles song I ever heard. And I think of that song and I'm like, I'm happy again, you know?
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, well, first of all, it's nice to have that touchstone no matter where you are in your life.
Yeah.
But now it's all good. It's music, and we're having a blast doing it. So what's man, I want to go on forever, and I just here's what we, I don't know what Angus told you about the show, but on Fridays, and there's never an obligation, but on Fridays it's free for all Friday. Anybody comes in the room, we talk about the craziest stuff. I get Booker King, I mean, all guys that you probably know one way or the other. That if we were backstage, it'd be hey. Believe me, man. Now it's like Olive Garden, your family, you know.
Yeah.
Do you have a way? I'm guessing not in Brooklyn, a way to record. Can you besides going to the studio, do you have any way to record or?
I this garage band and that kind of crap, but
Yeah.
I don't have to be able to like send something to you. I can't do that.
Yeah, well,
I've been going into Kanata's studio. I'm doing the audio book for my book now. And I've been we did 55 hours to read this thing. 55 hours.
Well, wait, before you go, please, let's talk about the book, where we can get it and where we can see it and so on. Because, that's big stuff. Who published that book?
Hudson Music.
Hudson Music.
Hudson Music. You get it on Hudson Music or you get it on Amazon.
Wow.
That's awesome. And hardcover, nice.
Yeah, hardcover. Billy wrote the forward. It's my life. It's there's so many books out there about how to play the drums and all this kind of stuff like that. And I got tired of watching American Idol and having people, like you said before, like people think you're rich, people think this and that and the other thing, and people think that you get on a contest and you win and you become famous and that's the way it goes. This is my life. This starts with my family coming over from Italy. So it's like these people came over from Italy, and then 2 generations later, one of their offspring is playing with probably one of the biggest single artists in the world. How did that happen? And I walked through, the whole thing about when the Beatles were on the Ed Sullivan Show, the music I loved before the Beatles, how I hated sports in school, and how the road that just led me down to music, because I had no choice. How the drums made me popular in school. They gave me an identity, because I wasn't a sports guy.
Yeah.
And it keeps going like that. How I met the Rascals, how I met Carmine, how I did, all those steps of what became Billy Joel's drummer. How did I get there?
That's just so awesome. But the thing about it, that is the best. Because, you think, well, Billy's doing this and Billy did that. The truth is, you're still exploring new music. You're making new music. You're educating people. You do clinics. There's a whole Liberty DeVito world out there that I admire, because that's what we do. To get to the next, whatever it is, the next basket of food or whatever.
And people don't realize what you do. They don't know what you do, because there's a name on the marquee, one name, and it's not yours, it's somebody else's name. They think that person does everything, Yeah,
well, it's, you know what? No matter what, perceptions or not, and that's one of the reasons that I do this show, is to give people a look at the reality of it. The star and the glitz, hey, Rod Stewart, bing, bing, that's great. The Who, go ahead. But the rest of us are, we're significant. Without us, there is no anything else. You know what I mean? And the thing I think that, I'll make the point before I ask you the questions, the thing that I think you'll find about Billy, I don't know him, but I'm searching my head and my heart, and I think he misses the same thing that you miss.
Yeah.
And at some point, whenever that is, hopefully you guys will be able to capture that again. For me, that's by the by, but whatever it is, it's the beauty of hope, right?
He writes in the forward line there, he writes, me and Liberty have reconciled our relationship, and I'm a better person for it. It's like we both carrying the weight of this, like, what happened? Why did we do that? Why did we have this falling out? It makes this beautiful music for the world, the world knows the music we did.
Yeah.
And as it should, man. As it.
But your wife,
you're a part of that. You're a note in that chord, no matter what. That's something. That's something that will never change, man. You are part of that sonic history that would not be the same without you. And I've only come to appreciate you as a player more and more the more I look at your work and the more that I see what you do. And I hope that there's a situation where we'll be able to do something somehow together.
Be fantastic.
Whether it's a clinic or an old drum battle or whatever the hell, be fun. So if you're going out to Canada's,
yeah,
talk him into throwing a sax on one of my songs. We'll work it out, man. Give him a big kiss for me. We'll work it out. We'll work it out. Well.
Yeah, Liberty DeVito.
He's killer. I mean, what a great,
Great guy. Great player.
Great
guy.
stories, and that was January, the beginning of last year. 21.
Last year, yeah, 21. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were.
He was still in pretty much, COVID lockdown.
That's right. I mean, because I remember talking about. I remember it dawned on me because we don't see people where we live, which is a nice thing because that means they don't see us. But I never really thought about it, and I'm sure I've said this before. It doesn't strike you about the COVID thing. I mean, I don't want to say we're paranoid, but we are extremely careful. Because I'd rather be extremely careful and be wrong than be careless and be wrong.
I talked to a friend yesterday who was in Norway, and he said nobody was wearing masks, so he took his mask off, and what happened? He got COVID.
I don't know. We don't want to. We certainly don't want to go there. But Liberty put it when we had that conversation. He put a face on it for me because he said, the minute I step out, because he lives in an apartment, the minute I step out of my house, I'm out of my door. I'm in
Brooklyn.
Or the elevator or anything else, and it's like, man, that's pretty real.
Okay, now Pat Romano, you need a beat down.
Uh-oh.
Nice haircut. Did it come free with a bowl of soup?
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow. Hey, wow.
Yeah.
That was a good comeback, Pat.
Oh.
If I wanted my comeback, I'd wipe it off your chin.
Ba-da-ba.
Oh, well, anyway, so that's it. Okay.
I think you're on the shit list for a little bit.
Yeah, that could be a problem. No.
Yeah.
Listen, you know what?
Because I've seen your
I learned
haircut.
something. I learned something. It's just jealousy, darling.
It is jealousy.
Just
Pat
jealousy.
doesn't have any hair.
Sorry, I should have kept what fell off.
Yeah, and sent it to Pat so he
But
could
you know
pull
what
it
we
on
could
his
do?
head.
Listen, I know you're an animal lover, and our dog sheds like you don't want to know. And when I see the abundance, and I'm telling you, we will ferminate them, and I'm thinking, would you be interested in maybe developing some kind of a hair piece with us?
He says, love you guys. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about that.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
We're not that sensitive.
No,
No, we're not that sensitive.
but we don't put up with that
But
kind
we
of
are
shit.
Italian, pal, so, or at least I am. She's...
I am French and Spanish and Irish, so watch out, bitches.
Yeah, you got any Italian in you?
Not yet.
Not yet. It's early.
Okay, so
All right, so now
tomorrow
what?
night.
Oh yes, Free for All Friday.
Free for All
Man,
Friday.
I'll tell you what. It was Wednesday when the shit hit the fan. Oh, 2 weeks ago, Wednesday when the hurricane. You remember? They're just looking at me like, what? What hit the fan? What fan?
Yeah, our last show was Tuesday, 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so by the time, first of all, we're in the dark. Well, not really. But, because she's got tap lights.
I do.
And a million AA batteries. I missed Free for All Friday, I gotta tell you. It was like not seeing all my peeps. I felt like, I don't know, like everybody was kind of out there without me. And maybe I am sensitive. So what?
Oh, Gail said freedom. She's gonna
Oh,
get their freedom.
I got it ready for you. I'm ready for you with the old freedom.
Okay. Well.
Okay, so yes. So
Well,
yes,
that
I hope
helps.
you enjoyed Liberty. That was it's always good for me to look back at things like that and see how the show went and see what we did and but what a great guy. I'd love to do a follow up with him just about the Beatles because he's so so focused on that. But there you go. Free for All Friday, is that what it is?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and what else?
If I don't see you.
No. If you don't see me, I'll sneak up behind you.
Well, then you better say it, bitch.
I don't see you in the future. I'll see you in the pasture.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, kids. Good night. Oh, that's wrong. There you go.